and I'm doing well as well. So today we're going to continue with the topic we had. We're looking we're looking at drawing powerful heroes by Bart Sears, and so far we've been able to just talk about anatomy. We've been able to talk about the male anatomy. We've been able to talk about like the nine-headed method of drawing the human body, which is this the nine using the nine head method to draw the human body, right? So we have one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, and nine heads. Yeah, and you'll be able to get the proper proportion of a superhero physique. So that's what we've been doing. That's what we're doing. And yeah, and I've been able to study that and use that. Like when you're doing studying this book, this Bart Sears drawing powerful heroes, you kind of need to understand like underline anatomy already, because the book, if you don't understand anatomy already, it's going to be kind of a bit tricky. It's going to be a bit difficult. It's going to be a bit confusing. But once you understand like anatomy, you're going to be good because there are some decisions he makes that might not be like to your taste in terms of artistic decisions or like drawing. But generally, it's a pretty good book and you can learn a lot from it. Yeah, so I did this study, I did this practice and tried to translate it into one of my characters, which we have here. So, yeah, give me a moment. Yeah, so what I then moved on to was we did do some study of like the human body and I was explaining structure. I was explaining using simple shapes to get, you know, like the basic structure and the basic look of a normal superhero male body or physique. I explained using a cube or using a circle or a sphere. And I also explained like the pose, the normal natural stance and pose of a human body. Usually, the human body is not necessarily straight. It has these structures under it, like we call them skeleton, like the rib cage, for instance, and then the pelvis, and then the bones, of course. So that's what I talked about. I talked about how I could use like cylinders to get the structure of the arm, and that's what I talked about. And I did that here as well. So we just used a simple cube, and then we put across this upper part representing the pectoralis muscles of the chest, and this lower part down to the pelvis representing the abs. Yeah, so that's what we talked about. I think that was 2 days ago. And then we did a front and side view study. Front and side view study. Just a rough, quick study. That is how I work whenever I'm doing the studies. Hello, Thomas. How you doing? Welcome to the stream. Thank you for joining. Hope you can hear me audibly. I hope I'm audible. I mean, bad English. Yeah. So that was what we talked about. The next thing we talked about was the back muscles, or like studying the back muscles, and then explain how we use this. All right, Thomas. Thanks for notifying me. How I use this like M shape to sort of get the back muscles, which was fun. We talked about the major muscles, the traps, the lats, the delts, and all these other muscles in between them, the erector spinae and all that. Yeah, for a male, right? So today we're going to do that for a female. We're not necessarily going to look at the front and back muscle since we already know the muscles that are involved. We're just sort of going to look at the shape and approach when drawing women. I don't think I've ever done a study with regards to that. So the aim of this video is that I'm trying to study and I'm also trying to learn. And because I haven't been able to create any free time for myself to actually properly study this book. I'm using this stream as an opportunity to do that and explain what I understand from it. So hopefully that is something that resonates with you. um but anyways, if you're just arriving at the video, please give the video a like. I really appreciate that. Anyways, what I explained briefly yesterday, because I touched lightly on it, is that like in regards to men versus women, men they have broader shoulders and slimmer waist. Not all men, of course. There are men that are heavily endowed, right? But usually male usually have broader shoulders than women. Women could have broad shoulders, but they have wide hips. They have wider hips than men, usually because of childbearing. So that is just something to note whenever you're drawing it, like in terms of like the shape and silhouette. So that's what we talked about. And then lastly, one more thing we also talked about was the beanbag technique. The beanbag technique using this beanbag because a potato sack, I mean potato sack, um, because of you could use, or some people call it the pillow technique. You can position it in different angles and you can use that to sort of approach drawing the male torso, drawing the torso in general. And that is sort of what I did here. That's also what I did here as well. Very fun and interesting study. I'm not, going into much detail in terms of these studies. I'm just, doing it at the surface. Then we then explained how to draw like the female face. Yeah, and then I just quickly explained proportions of the face and where to put the brow line, the eye line, the nose line, the mouth line, and the jaw, and then the forehead, and then the hairline, the locations of the ear. It's something that virtually every artist has talked about, but it's still good to still talk about it so that we can remind ourselves. Um, and how whenever you're drawing women, you sort of have to, especially if the aim is to make the woman beautiful, you have to draw the features to be soft because you can get away with drawing an ugly man. You can even make an ugly man your main character, and people won't really give a damn. But usually, when it's a woman, a lot of the times, if your aim is to draw her pretty, you sort of have to use soft features. You shouldn't like use usually there shouldn't be a lot of lines on the face and things like that. Otherwise, the woman could look old, unless that's, of course, what you're going for. So that's what we talked about. I briefly explained how to draw the head, the compositions, the elements that make up the head, how to draw the lips, how to draw the nose and mouth, and then the eyes, of course. Just brief explanations. And then today, of course, we're going to look at the figure in its entirety. And of course, we'll do some studies. So that's just a long winded intro. Um, and we're going to look at the book together and I'm going to do some studies. And thanks to the few people that are around. I appreciate it. Yeah, so let me get my pen. All right, so we're going to see what he's talking about here. So, so he said, uh, when drawing, when drawing women, always remember to keep it simple. A general rule is to use less line or less line work when you are drawing women. Each line you add on the face or the body can add years of age to the character and it will detract from the woman's overall beauty. Just remember, each woman that you draw is a different character, and each character has their own visual needs and cues. And then he gave examples with different women that he drew um, over here. Like for example, he drew like a muscular lady. She still looks feminine because of his approach to the line, like how he approached the line. Like if you look at this really fit woman, and then you look at this really, what is it? This, well, and you look at this really fit man, you're going to see distinctions in terms of how they look because the guy has a much more structured and chiseled look to him. Of course, there are soft features and there are soft lines, and you can get away with that. But there's a lot of angles. The look is very angular. Whereas when you look at the lady, or like this drawing, for instance, the curves, there's a lot of curves and there's a lot of lines and there's a lot of soft edges in comparison to like the men. So it's also similar to like when I was drawing the torso. Yeah, or look at the torso, the male torso. You can look at how angular these parts of the body are. Like, of course, it's stylized. Yeah, normally, like everyone have like soft features, but you can see how angular it is. The arms, the side, like it looks very rigid. Yeah, uh, but like if you look at the women that are being drawn here, they're much more softer. So The best way to approach this is to, of course, do the studies that are there and see if you can match the artist's work, if you can match like what the artist is drawing. Um, so let's try it. Let's try it out. So let's try it out. I'm going to start with this one first of all and see how it looks. Of course, when you're drawing this, one thing I've noticed, I noted, like when I was flipping through the book, is that whenever you're drawing women, for maximum attractiveness, the shoulders and the hips sort of have to be, what's the word? They have to sort of be like facing different directions. So, for instance, this lady now, yeah, we can have her like this. So her shoulders, right? We'll use a box to represent that. We'll use a box to represent that. Her shoulders are facing like this, and then her hips are facing like this. And then you also see that with different characters. He also, did this here, and also with like the movement of this character, for instance, the character's shoulder is slightly tilted, and the hips is slightly tilted as well. So this simple box or pelvis shape is going to make it look a bit more fluid and interesting, make the figure a bit more interesting. He's sort of explaining that here. As you can see, um, hello Osa, how you doing? So as you can see, this pose over here, um, uh so what he said here is like when you are drawing women, always keep in mind that in general terms women are more graceful and sensual than men. They should be apparent in your drawings. As an example, um oh yeah, yeah, yeah. He's talking about Babe. Babe is like the character that's representing the book. Um, would glide in a saunter down the hall. Brute would stride or stomp down to it. Yeah, so he's talking about like whenever you are drawing like a guy versus a lady, like for instance, this type of pose. Let me zoom in a bit. This type of pose, you can see how graceful it is. Like she even has the flowing gown and whatnot. Like even without that, you can see that she's walking majestically. Meanwhile, like a guy, for instance, would walk like he's, you know how kings walk. Yeah, he would walk like he owns the place. That type of thing. Posturing essentially. So yeah, that's just the gist of it. So you can see that in a lot of the ladies that he's drawing. You can see this consistent shoulder and hips, yeah, facing different direction. Shoulder and hips facing different direction. And it's not like you can't draw them in a normal pose, but it's very helpful. Even in like a three-quarter angle like this, you're still seeing the same thing. Because this character's shoulder is like this, and then the hips are like this as well. And this is great figure drawing. It's something I've actually never learnt or like I've have been good at. So yeah, thanks for joining the stream, Osa. I appreciate you. So what I'm just doing is that I'm just doing a study. I'm studying this book called Drawing Powerful Heroes by Bart Sears, Brutes and Babes. So it's about drawing like characters and figure drawing. um Yesterday we did male, so today we're doing the female. Yeah, so with regards to this lady over here, I'll just try and do the drawing and follow what he has done here. Yeah, so like these structures or these poses are very helpful. Yeah, these not poses, these shapes are very helpful because they help to guide us. They help to guide us. So the torso, one side of the torso is facing this way. Of course, have your center line. Have your center line. And then you're going to have the pelvis area like this. And then because of the position of the hips, this bump over here is, the pelvis. So we're going to have that like this. And the hips are not straight. Yeah, take note of that. So this hip is going to be sort of like this. And we are establishing the shape of the lady. Also take note of like your lines. Um, very important. All right, the collarbone and our shoulders. So we can then put our arm like this, and then put our other arm like this. Right. So, and we've just been able to draw, we've been able to draw the face. Of course, the head is facing a different direction, adding to the drama of the pose. And basically, that is how it works. So I'm going to do another study since I've done this one. I'm going to do another study. Right. So, but you get the gist. Yeah. You get the gist. But you still need to study. Like you might understand it theoretically, but you still need to practice it. You know, you still need to actually draw it so that you can develop the muscle memory. Yeah, that's good. That's good. If you have any question also, you can always ask me. So with regards to this pose as well, and make sure to um, you know, focus on gestures rather than like focusing so much on the rigidity. Of course, we'll have the underlying structure, but try to focus on gesture and like don't worry if your drawing looks very rough. The essence is to improve, right? We're not going to put these works in the museum, like they're not going to be at the Louvre. So just be free with yourself and free with your elbow and hand movements when you're working. So we're going to try out this pose. Yeah, we're not going to detail anything. We're just trying to get, understand what's going on. Yeah, so we have this pose like that. Is seeing the shoulders, seeing the shoulders. Right. Make sure you take note of the silhouette, the overall silhouette. Um, this is a pretty lean lady, slim lady. I mean, um, do I even struggle? Do I even struggle with the pose? Yes, I do struggle a lot. I struggle a lot with the pose, but when you practice and when you practice a lot, usually even when you're struggling, it will sometimes look like you're not, but ideally you kind of are. Um, Art is about freedom to a large extent, not beating yourself up if you draw something that is not to your taste, and you just have to learn to endure that maybe your skill is not at the level that you want to be, but still draw regardless. That is how I approach art, my art's journey rather. I don't know if that is what you actually meant. Anyways, so this is our hands. You can see how the hands are slimmer. The hands are not as muscular as the guy's hands, and it's softer. They're using much more softer lines for the hands, yeah, in comparison to the guys that have a lot of muscles. And that is actually how it is in real life, unless the lady is on train or something. But it still doesn't mean you shouldn't take note of the anatomical parts of the hands. It was, and thank you. You're welcome, man. You're welcome. Of course, like hands give me difficulty, but like if I want to focus, like so that I don't like focus on just the hand, I'll just like put a pose or a shape for the hand, and then later on I go to study it or break it down properly, so that I don't spend a lot of time on just one area of the drawing. It's an entire piece, so you have to focus on every part of the work. They deserve equal attention. So, and that is what I try to do. And once I'm done with the rough sketch, I can, of course, then go ahead and focus on the nitty gritty part of the work. So, that's what we have here. So, I'm just going to leave this here. And I can, of course, draw the hand, but I don't want to. I don't want to spend so much time on it. Yeah. So, yeah. But hopefully, this has explained it. So, you see, with regards to guys, yeah, of course you can make this as exaggerated as possible. If this was a guy, his shoulders would be a lot wider, yeah. Of course he could have a slim waist, but you can see that women, their hips are broader, yeah. A guy's hips could just be straight like this, would just be straight. Of course he'll have his love handles, the love handles, yeah, but it's going to be straight. The hips are not going to be as broad. The hips are not going to be as, this is belly button, by the way. Yeah, the hips are not going to be as broad. Meanwhile, for the ladies, it starts here and then curves out like this. And you can see that difference. You can see that difference. Yeah. And then you can see usually the ladies, their shoulders are slimmer than their waist. Their shoulder to waist ratio is different, but for the guys, it's also different. The guys have broader shoulders. Yeah, so that is one way you could draw it. So very important, and that's how you could do it. So whenever you're doing studies like this, don't focus on like the artist drew this to make the work, the book visually, it will look nice, yeah, because it's important for people to see what is possible with these kinds of practices. Whenever you're doing studies like this, a lot of the time you don't necessarily need to draw in detail. You just sort of need to. I'm not drawing this because I don't like this figure. I don't like this figure at all. I don't like the way he drew it, rather. Um, yeah, but that is it. So I'm going to draw one more. I'm going to draw this one. Well, I really like that pose, that figure. So I'm going to add it to what I have. All right. So, like I said, when you're doing the drawings, always start with structure or start with a simple shape. So we need to understand the position of the body, like what is the body like position, and then we need to understand the position of the hips, the shoulders, the head. These are very important to drawing. So of course, it looks like she's in a three-quarter pose or a three-quarter angle, and her body is leaning, like her back is sort of like this. Hopefully that is what it is, like this. And then we have the the pelvis is a bit straighter, so the back is leaning but the pelvis is straighter. This waist is on the stream side. Yeah, it is, but like the bomb, you can see how wide it is. Yeah. I mean, of course, there are guys that have like wide bombs and stuff. But all right, so she's actually quite tall, and what I just did here made her will make her look not as tall as she is. So I'm gonna push that down a bit. Yeah, so yeah, so I said guys. All right, so we have this shape already. Um hello Tonel. Hello Amit. Hello Amit, how you doing? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're having a good day. All right, so we have this part. Remember this T line, always take note of this T line or center line. This T over here represents the collarbone or the clavicle, and this T over here represents the sternum. So you have to also take note of that whenever you're drawing. So we have our clavicle like this, and then we just have to position it appropriately. But let me get the shape of the body first. Comes in here like this and then goes out like that. Thanks. How are you? I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. I appreciate you joining the stream. I appreciate you joining the stream. Thank you. Um, all right. So you can see how we've placed that. Remember, whenever I talk about this stuff, usually this is the rib cage. Yeah, that's what this box is representing, and this lower box is representing the pelvis or the pelvic bone or whatever. Yeah, so that's why usually it's like that. All right. So we have this, and then we're gonna put her breasts like this, and then the hands are going to go like this. Always take note of the length, and of course we have a decent looking hand, or a decent looking pose rather. So once you have this, usually you're good to go. So you can see how we went from just applying simple structures around to actually, you know, drawing a decent pose, albeit from a reference. So, never feel bad about using a reference. You can see how, despite the fact she's muscular, there is still a bit of softness to how her muscle looks. So, that is something to observe or take note of. Sorry, I just sneezed. Anyways, now the position of her head, like I was saying, the head is also important. So, and there we have it. We have the pose that we're looking for. Yeah. And of course, you can add the hand as well. This other hand. I don't know what is. Oh yeah, her hand is like pressing something. It's pressing. It's pressing like a device. Yeah. But anyways, that is one of the study. Like I said, focus on the center line, even though you're not seeing it or you might not be seeing it. Make sure to focus on the center line. And then, of course, I could go ahead and detail it. But you can see how soft and curvaceous it is in comparison to the guys that I was drawing a few days ago. Yeah, how rigid this looks. So, um, you know, that's just the difference. Let's see what else he's saying. Yeah, we've tackled this. As seen as the muscles aren't big. Yeah, yeah. I don't know, like, are you referring to like the ladies? Yeah, the muscle they may have muscles, but like because of, like, they don't have as much testosterone as guys do. The same way guys don't have as much what do they call them? The hormone? Is it estrogen? Yeah, so that's why like guys are going to have more muscles and women are going to have the ability to bear children. Yeah, so that's the entire gist of it. Of course, I want to practice this pose. I like this pose a lot. So I'm going to practice it. Right. I really like that pose. Let's try it out. Right. Don't Whenever you're drawing, don't be afraid, because like when I see this, like this one I drew here, I'm also seeing like mistakes that I made, but like, how would I put it? I care more about like getting, like, I'm not saying don't erase, like erase as much as possible, as much as you want, but like, don't one drawing doesn't really define you, so aim to just do more. All right, so with this pose, like I said, take note of the shoulders and the hips, and then the head as well. Shoulders, hips, and head, right? Because is what's going to define the pose, right? What he was talking about over here, like this, very important. Yeah, yeah, you see that whenever they are walking, standing, sitting, squatting, whatever pose they are taking, the hips and the shoulders are very important for movement and pose and posing in general. The pose reminds me of Jojo. Hello, Arim. How you doing? Hey, yo, streaming without me. I mean, you're here now, so it's all cool. How are you doing, Arim? Yeah, this is um Osa, Noah, and sorry, I missed Noah. I missed his greeting. Hello, how you doing, Noah? Thanks for joining the stream. And Amit as well. And of course, Thomas. Yeah, and we've been like together. Just doing the studies, just quick studies. Yeah, anyways, back to this pose. So position of the shoulder is a bit like this. You're still drawing the Shining movie drawing, man. Oh, really? Uh, like how detailed are you going? Because I noticed you like detailing your work a lot. All right, like this shoulder is a bit higher. You can see how I'm trying to use multiple strokes. Um, because most of the times I'm unsure of if I'm making the right artistic decision. It doesn't look solid. What you're drawing doesn't look solid. And when you're done with it, you draw another one. That's how art works. I know how you feel. And then you see how this hand, this is facing this way and this one is facing this way. Yeah. It's all perspective and movement, and it's what will make the figure very interesting. If I ever lock in on a drawing, I keep drawing and making mistakes until I get some. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like I understand. Like you make mistakes, but the goal of drawing should be like an adventure. It should be like a game, right? If you fail in a game, like you don't just it can be frustrating, but the fun is in, like, you have the opportunity to play again and to play again and to play again, and each new drawing is sort of like a game, so you can play as many times as you want. Anyways, remember this for our rib cage. And then there's a dip over here, and then the hips. Dum, 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 dum. Not all the leg is going to be visible. All right, so we have that established. I like the way it draws the leg. Reminds me of Eminence, the knees as well. All right, so uh, sorry, bedtime. Bye. Yeah, good night. Osa, thanks for joining. Have a good night's rest and enjoy your weekend. Oh, thanks for subbing as well. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for subbing. All right, let's not forget our shoulders. Good night. Good night, Osa. Good night. Our clavicle area, and then our arms, our hands rather. Don't forget to make them soft. Yeah. So they're going to come down like this. It's not a perfect figure, but still. And another thing you can always use, if a pose is a bit tricky for you, you can always try to figure out the negative space, And what I mean by that is like if you look at the space over here between the arms and this her body, that is a negative space. So for instance, like I might be having an issue drawing this. So what I could then do is that where's the soft eraser? I could then just try and figure out the negative space. So I could just do like her arms are over here and then try and get that and use that to get the drawing. So if you're ever having trouble with a drawing that you're doing, you can try out negative space. Our neck. Right, and that's all right. I think that's good enough, at least for now. So yeah, that's basically the gist. It's not a perfect pose. I could adjust it a bit more. Like my own character is not it's not leaning back enough. My own character is not leaning back enough. So I've obviously made an error here. Um, and I can adjust it, of course, but I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to adjust it. It's all right to make mistakes. All right, so I think that's it for that. Yeah, I really like that. I really like that. Um, what else? The next phase of the book essentially is storytelling. So he's going to be doing some panel studies like how to use perspective, how to use panels to tell a story, really fun stuff. But we're not going to deal with that now. We're just going to deal with we're done with what we wanted to study today, which is essentially you know the studying of the female body or the female torso, and we are sort of done with what we're supposed to do. So I'll tell you, I think that should be it for now. That should be it for now. I think that should be the end of the stream essentially. Yeah, that's it. That's it. That'll be the end of the stream. Tomorrow we'll come back and we'll do, a study. We'll understand, like try and understand the storytelling. For those that might be interested, if anybody has a question, can let me know, and I'll try and answer that. In the meantime, I'm going to try and explain, um, like the female torso. I'm going to try and explain because yesterday I didn't explain it. Yesterday I explained the male torso, but I've never like properly explained the female torso, right? So um, the female torso is basically like that of the males. It's just like that of the guys, right? The only difference is that there is the presence of breasts, so that like sort of changes the shape, right? So if we have a pose like this, let's look at this from a front view. Let's look at this from a front view. Right. Remember, whenever we're drawing the torso, right, don't forget the T. This T line represents the clavicle and the sternum. Yeah. So you know how a guy's chest. Let's put this like this. This is going to represent whatever the rib cage or whatever. Yeah, that's going to represent the rib cage. Yeah, so let me move this a bit, just a little bit, and then I'll move this. Let me duplicate it so that it can be seen side by side. All right, so we have, I'm going to use one for the male and one for the female. You know how for the guy's chest, right? We have the pectoralis muscle. This is how every human being's body look. Yeah, there's the pectoralis muscle. Hello, Dream Chaser. How you doing? There's the pectoralis muscle, which is practically the chest, like this. Everybody has one. Like both the male and female, they do have this pectoralis muscle. This is how it looks. Yeah, everyone's muscle looks like this. And then of course the abs, which extend from top to bottom like this. Yeah. All right. So we've established that. But the thing about the female um upper body is that in as much as the pectoralis muscle exists here, on top of that there is a fat pad that exists, something like this, like that, and it sits on top of the pectoralis muscle. It's essentially fat. Doing good, doing great, loving the art. Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much. That means a lot. I appreciate it. I hope you're having a good day, Dream Chaser. So we will see our muscle like this. Like if we were to have a muscular view of the chest, you would see the muscle like this. But then, of course, you'd see the breasts like this. And then we're going to see our clavicle like this. And that is how, and because of that, we have this like this. Yeah, and that is how to draw the female torso, and that is how it is different from the male torso. You see, that is how it's different from the male torso. Yeah, so essentially, basically, there is just a fat part on top of here like this. Yeah, so basically, this guy has a boob. Yeah, and that would make him a woman or like a she-hulk rather, except he would have wider hips. Yeah. Hello, Sleep. How you doing? It's been a while. It's just another night in the motherland. Shout out from Zambia. Ooh, Zambia, my neighbor. Yeah, I'm from Nigeria. I hope you're having a good day. Thanks for joining again. Yeah, so that's just the difference. So it's the onus is then on you as an artist to practice this as much as possible. To he said, "Yay, boobs." To practice this as much as possible. So once you have this, the same way you would draw a guy, you would draw that, but then you just add the shape. So you sort of need to understand the shape, and of course the size of the boobs that you're drawing, so that it's going to be consistent, and that is going to add to the figure, of course. So if we're looking at this from a three-quarter view, how you doing, John? I'm probably about to fall asleep. That's good. That's good. You're changing. You're changing. That's good news. I'm happy for you. Um, get as much sleep as possible. Um, yeah, I've missed you in the stream. It's been a while. Yeah. Anyways, so oh my god, I loved that. Like, why did I delete that? Where's the oh god. It just deleted it, man. I really liked that rib that I drew. I'll just draw another one. Yeah. It's 4 a.m. Oh my goodness. Mamma mia. What are you doing awake at 4 a.m.? Oh, apparently you've never changed. You haven't changed. You haven't changed a single bit. Sleep. Anyway, so the guy's muscles usually would be like this. Yeah, they would have their chest like this. Yeah, I'm hitting time zones right now. When drawing the chest area for both male and female, I always find trouble with the three-quarter view. Yeah, that's where I'm going to come in, and I'm going to help out. Yeah, I do have issues sometimes, right? So what I just drew now was the rib cage, and because the muscle sits on it, the the chest is going to come out like this. That's for the guys, yeah. The chest is definitely going to come out. The clavicle is going to be popping out like this. And then, of course, most times you see the arm. Damn, it's only 6:50 where I'm at. Hello, seven Thors. Is that the word? Is that the pronunciation? I'm so I'm so I'm so flabbergasted you turned into Italian. Mamma mia. Yeah. Anyways, this is how the guy's chest would look. Yeah, their abs will come up from here and go all the way down. Yeah. Now, with the ladies, of course, it's going to be a bit different. Yep, that's it. Peace, bro. Oh, thank you so much. Seven thoughts. Thank you so much. All right. So, like I said before, what is going to happen here is that you're going to add the fat pad at this location, and then it's going to be a bit down like this. Of course, depending on the size of the boobs that you're drawing, of course, like that. The areola, and then over here like this. So you can see that there's not much difference between the guys and the ladies. Yeah, it's just that they just have a bit more fat in that area, and that's cool. This looks like an armor, by the way, right? So it's just you just carry this shape and then put it at this part of the body, and that's it. That's how to draw a three-quarter angle. And of course, depending on movement, uh, omelette, no fried egg. Yeah, depending on movement, or positioning on how you stretch, yeah, or how you stretch the body. The same thing like if a guy stretches his pectoralis muscle, that chest area could be flat. Yeah, so if this is your chest area, this is your chest area, and this is your clavicle, and then you're stretching your arm like this, you're going to see your pectoralis muscle is going to stretch out like that. And then this part of the body is still going to remain, it's still going to remain firm, but this part is going to be stretched out. Fried egg. I've missed your humor. Yeah, so yeah, that's I guess that's it. Uh that's the explanation, I guess. Yeah, so once you do that, you do these studies, you get better at drawing the female figure. I'm talking to myself as well, by the way, because I'm also doing the study. It's not something I do a lot. So, um, and we're looking at the book together. We're going through the book together. And I don't have enough time in the day to practice this stuff, so I have to do it on the live stream. And tomorrow we're going to look at a different. Oh my God, this figure is so cool! Like, look at that. That drawing is amazing. Like, look at the inking, man. That is a beautiful figure. Yo, that's actually really cool. That looks like what's that guy's name in X-Men? Is that him? Cyclops' son? Cable. Yeah, it looks like Cable. It looks like Cable. Yeah, anyway, guys, that's all I got for today. Yeah, exactly, Dream. Exactly. It looks like Cable. That's what I was saying. It looks like, especially like the haircuts. That's a cool pose. Yo, these art books are really fun, man. Like, you just have to be patient with yourself when you're studying it, and when you are like when you're studying it, like, you just have to be patient with yourself. You see how like it's taking us about 30-45 minutes to get the study done of just one part of the book. So that's how it is for every single book. It's going to take time, it's going to be difficult, but you have to be patient with yourself, even if your skill is not up to par, if it's not up to standard. What's the name of the art book? The name of the art book is Drawing Superhero. Is it characters or poses? Let me go to the front. Um, Drawing Powerful Heroes, Brutes and Babes by Bart Sears. That's his name there. Bartsears. Bart Sears. It's a decent book. It's okay. It's so so. It's not like, you're going to learn something from it. I think what I might even be doing is that, because there's another book that I want to look at by Gary Martin. Is about inking in comics, I think. So I'm going to be looking at that book in tandem with this one. Going to hunt this, my brother. Do so, do so. It's a good book. It's a good book. It has its value. Like a lot of the studies that I'm doing here, all these stories here are from are from the book, and it's just fun to talk about um stuff like that, and do all these studies because they're definitely going to make you a lot better. Mm. Anyways, guys, thanks for joining me for today's stream. I'll see you guys tomorrow, hopefully. Uh, yeah, apologies. These streams these days are quite short. It's because I'm doing the studies, and these studies, the thing about study is that you can't try to pack too much information into your head. You have to just take a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit here, a little bit there, so that your brain don't, get confused and stuff like that. No matter how experienced or inexperienced you think you are, just, take it little by little, and eventually they will apply to your work. So when you do a study like this, you go on ahead and draw. You go on ahead and work on your own projects, your comic projects, and the things you like to work on. You take the little information you have and draw. Writing this down. Hold on. Are you serious? I've said this multiple times. I'm just saying it again. Yeah, you take it and the little information and draw, and draw the figures that you like drawing, draw the characters that I like drawing. Yeah. um yeah, thanks guys for joining me. I'll see you guys on later. Good night, sleep. Make sure you take a nap. I'm kidding, of course, you said it before. Yeah. Good night, sleep. Have a good morning rest. And thanks for joining Dream Chaser, bro. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, seven, seventh, seventh Oz. Hope I pronounced that well. Do you know? Apparently, I haven't been pronouncing Irim's name well. Apparently, yeah, that pissed me off. And even when I tried pronouncing it appropriately. I was thinking out the gaff. Yeah, but either ways, thank you guys so much and good night.